Good evening, friends. To understand a topic, the rule of law, we thought why not call Mr. K.Sundaravel, Advocate Madurai Bar Association, and who is also a special public prosecutor. The most fascinating part was during the COVID times also, we had tried to connect with Mr. Sundaravel to share his knowledge, but they say as things happen on their own way. It is after much when everything has returned to normalcy, and we wish that it continues. We have been able to connect with him, and he has agreed to share his knowledge with us. Being a Sunday, I will straight away request Mr. Sunreval to share his knowledge on the rule of law. We all know that rule of law and rule by law, there is a subtle difference. But today's topic will be rule of law. Over to you, Mr. Sunreval, and we thank you for accepting our invite. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Namaskar. Before beginning with, I sincerely thank yourself and Mr. Karunanidhi, and then I proceed. I am audible to you, sir?
Perfect.
It is a great pleasure and privilege for me to be with you in this Law Day. I am most obliged to speak about hello.
You can continue. We are hearing you.
Okay. The concept of the rule of law. Law is a regulation or code of discipline to correct the society. The rule of law means the supremacy of law. Law is supreme. It is high. We are below law. Whomsoever you may be, you are not above law. The concept rule of law, that means law is high. It governs, it commands, it corrects, it regulates, and it drives the society was perceived long before. The common law was the foundation of rule of law. Later, various countries drafted various constitutions, and through various provisions, they upheld the rule of law. In our country, long before, thousands of years ago, the kings were the head of the regime, and they were also implementing judicial activities. Their seat in the palace was the royal court, and they passed tremendous judgments and upheld the rule of law. Rule of law or the supremacy of law or the majesty of law can be accepted only by disciplined hearts. Persons who are selfish, who are greed, who don't feel any brotherhood, who don't have patriotism, who don't obey the government and governance may not accept the rule of law. To accept rule of law, you should be a fair and disciplined gentleman. Otherwise, you may not be able to perceive it. In Tirukkural, the couplets, 1330 couplets, written by the great saint poet, he upholds the importance of fair rule of law. In his chapter, Senkonmai, in Tamil. In Tamil, Senkonmai means proper rule of law. He says in Tamil, Kudipuram Katu Ombik Kadidal Vadu Andru Vendan Tolil. The next one, Kolayin Kodiyare Vendu Ovital Paingul Kalaikat Tadanodu. The translation is very interesting to hear and digest. The first one says, governing the people, protecting them, and ruling them. And at the same time, when crimes are done by some persons and they are punished, it is not a scare on the face of the king, but it is the duty of the king. The next one says, when killers kill somebody in the society, they should be eliminated. That means they should be executed. This is like removing the waste plants and enemy plants and sowing the real plants. So long before, it has been held and appreciated by great saints. The bad should be punished, the good should be celebrated, is the rule of law. Now, in modern times, law is being enforced through different organs: executive, legislative, and judicial. Executives, the bureaucrats and top officials, they should pass orders, implement their duties according to proper law. Legislatures, the elected representatives in state level and in national level, should understand the need of the people and pass proper laws. And in a democratic country like ours, the executive's attitude, legislatures work, and parliamentarians passing laws have to be tested by judiciary. Judiciary is the bedrock of the constitution, and the constitution empowers the third pillar of the constitution, namely the judiciary, to check the work of executive and legislature. There should not be any confusion between these three organs. One should not interfere with the other. One should not think that it is supreme and the other is inferior. In our country, since the judiciary is empowered with power to correct, modify, annul, and accept any law passed by the legislature and parliament, it has done so far excellent service to the society. The one organ when its step is questioned by judiciary, it should not think that it is defeated or its policy is overturned or it is inferior to the other and the other thinks that it is superior. It should not think like that. The ultimate aim of the constitution is the welfare of the country, welfare of the society, and to uphold the rule of law. Likewise, the courts, which are the third important organ to test the veracity of the activities of executive and legislature, should not overdo or interfere with the original power and duty of the executive and legislature, which is amenable and acceptable and approved in the constitutional articles. So there should be a harmony between executive, legislature, and judiciary so that the rule of law will be excellent and beneficial to the society. Even a king is not above law, he is below law. In olden days, this concept was well adhered and accepted by eminent kings. Manuneri Chola, a king of Chola kingdom, Sibi Chakravarti, Pandian, Nedinjalian, and Shenbaga Pandian were very good examples for upholding the rule of law, which is standing till today to be talked and perceived by so many persons in letter and spirit. Manuniri Chola had an alarming grievance bell at the entrance of his palace. His son, while he was riding the car, festival car, driven by horses, came over the calf of the cow, it died. The aggrieved mother cow came and pulled the string of the alarm bell, and the king attended, came to know the episode. In turn, he overran his son by his own cart and upheld the rule. Likewise, Sibi Chakravarti, when a bird was shot by an arrow, he gave equal weight of flesh in his thigh and rectified the error. Pandian Nedinjalian's story is still alive. It is a sterling case of rule of law not followed and what had happened. Kannagi was a daughter of a rich businessman in Pumpukar area on the bank of Kaveri. Kannagi's husband, Kovalan, along with his wife, came to Pandya kingdom near Madurai, and he was about to sell an anklet. Already, when he arrived Madurai, the queen's anklet was missing. At that time, unfortunately, Kannagi's husband Kovalan came with one anklet and he was about to sell. He was taking steps to sell it. The people who were responsible for the missing of the anklet, they planned and framed Kovalan, and it was reported to the king that man is having an anklet similar to the anklet missed by our queen. In fact, the diamond inside the queen's anklet was less costly, and the diamond inside the anklet bracelet of Kannagi was very costly because she was a daughter of a rich businessman. Without making proper inquiry and without following due procedures of inquiry, unfortunately, Kovalan was executed. When the matter reached poor Kannagi, he came with another anklet which was in her possession and rushed to the courtyard of Pandya's kingdom. A bereaved, destitute woman with tears in her ears came and faced the Pandya king face to face. She commanded and questioned about the verdict of execution of her husband. Then, after questioning him and arguing, he broke the anklet of her own, which was in her hand. The diamonds, which were more costlier than the diamond of anklet owned by queen, broken. One of the diamond hit the nose of the king. What the king did, you know? I am not a king. I am the thief. And he laid down his life on the best traditions of our kingdom in our country. Likewise, so many kings have upheld the rule of law, and even now they stand testimony to it. Another interesting thing happened in Madurai itself. One, Shenbaga Pandian was the king. One day when he was talking with his wife intimately, a doubt arose in his mind whether ladies' hair is naturally having any smell or scent, or it is made up. He put this question to his ministers and other officials, and a prize was announced to general public to clear the doubt of the great king Shanbaga Pandya. The poor poet named Dharumi, he went to Ishvara's temple and prayed the Lord to help. At that time, Lord Ishvara came as an incarnation of himself, as a rich poet, and he gave a song, a poem, to this poor poet to go and get the prize. When the poem came to the courtyard before the great poet Nakira for approval, he said, words are perfect, but the subject is not correct. When this was informed to the god poet, he got angry, took this poor poet and rashly came to the courtyard of Pandya Shanba. There was a quarrel between official poet Nakira, who was more or less an advocate general there, and the incarnation poet of Lord Shiva. They fought with words. What the rich poet said was, ladies have natural flavor and sent in their hands. But the official poet said, no, even for Mata Parvati, it is not so, as they use cosmetics, scents, etc. Their hair is smelling, otherwise not. Then, to show who he is, the rich poet opened the third eye in his forehead and showed Nakira, the official poet, that who has come as a poet. It was Lord Ishvara, as he was having the third eye in his forehead. What did he do, He did not care that the man on the opposite side was Lord Ishvara himself. He did not compromise. He fought against him in length and breadth. Both exchanged hard words. And at last, Ishvara got angry and burnt Nakira, the official poet, into ashes. Later, the king carved, cried, and rolled. Then Lord Ishvara appeared before him and made Nakira, the official poet, to come in life. Nowadays, do you think that such a rule of law is exhibited inside the law courts? Such is the behavior of prosecutors. Even though Nakira fought and upheld the rule of law, later he said, requested the king to give away the prize to the poor man. So, inside the court hall, he was ready to give his life to uphold the rule of law. But at the same time, as a kind man, he requested the king to give the prize money also. Very recently, we came to know that public prosecutors, investigating agencies, and the court officers came together, made a mockery of justice, as if number of witnesses were examined in a short time, all evidence was read over, exhibits were perused, and a judgment was passed in favor of the accused persons. Very rare in our country, a single judge of our faith. Suomoto took action, and when it was questioned before the Apex Court lauded the activity of the single judge. When the chief poet and the chief pleader of the king was ready to face God Almighty and to give away his life, why not our law officers? I leave it to you. Rule of law concept is well followed everywhere. We people should educate our young ones to know the importance of law. Parents, teachers, great leaders, politicians, lawyers, and judges have their own role to give effect to feel this concept. There is a tendency in the mind of our people to overtake law, to compromise with the law, to adjust with the law. They give importance to themselves, their wishes, and they never fear for rule of law. When we read newspapers daily, you see how many misconducts, offenses, crimes, brutal activities, disobedience to law, breaking the concept of majesty of law, devoting the supremacy of law, we see. What is the reason? There are laws enacted by legislatures and parliaments. There are bureaucrats and government servants passing orders. There are policemen and military men to work towards implementation of law. There are law courts to give judgments. Then why there is anarchy? Why lawlessness is ruling? Why inhuman activities are happening? Why children are spoiled? Why girls are ravished? Why nobody is able to go lonely during nights? Why? Because the system is not working properly. Only if the system is working properly, we can realize the rule of law as supreme. With great respect to bureaucrats, officials, legislatures, parliamentarians, leaders, persons who are concerned with law courts, I humbly submit that there is a total failure of rule of law nowadays. To uphold it, everyone in the society, everyone working in the organ should work for it, feel for it, and there should not be any compromise. Unless and otherwise, in every angle, we correct ourselves, we may not be able to establish the rule of law as supreme. It will be supreme only in the paper. When a litigant comes with a litigation, he doesn't want to get an order as per the rule of law. When a lawyer conducts a case, he does not want to get a judgment according to justice. When a parliamentarian or a legislature passes an order or governs the country or the state, they did not think that they should work according to law. There lies the problem. Law is perfect in black and white, but the persons who are connected with litigation, law, law courts, lawmakers, and other things are not proper. Unless and otherwise, everybody in the society feels that there should be rule of law. We should feel the majesty of law. There should be harmony in the society. There should be equality. There should be equal protection of laws. Otherwise, we may not enjoy the supremacy of rule of law. That is why I humbly request you all that this society should be educated to feel the supremacy of, accept the majesty of law, and we should not try to sideline. Nowadays, you can see that there is no opportunity for young ones, students, and general public to hear good things. There is no opportunity for us. We are tight-lipped in our speedy world and speedy activities. We are money-minded, job-oriented, enjoyment-oriented. We have lost the real meaning of life and we are running towards something which is not real. Unless and otherwise, we live a real life with a disciplined life, following moral codes, treating one another equally, and obeying the government and governance, we may not be able to attain the rule of law in its existence. Parents, teachers, everybody has got a role to bring them up. There are no good media lessons to treat you properly. Writers also are reduced. Mere enjoyment, passing of time, following other tradition, forgetting our own good heritage and principles had become an order of the day. And that is one of the big reasons for tilting the rule of law. Let us go to the myth, the Puranas. In Ramayana, what was treated, what was lessened? Son should hear the words of father. Young brothers should respect the elder brothers. Wife should obey the husband and follow him. One should not like the property of another. Ravana, a great king of another country, was informed about Sita Devi and he came, lifted her. This is a violation of moral code, a violation of law. One should not like the property of another. There were no courts there. There were no international courts or there were no big persons common to both of them. But the royal court of Ravana advised him, reprimanded him, but he did not obey the rule of law. And so a great war happened and he lost his life. Likewise, Mahabharata. Two brothers, they had sons. They did not divide the property equally due to ill advice. One brother's son wanted to cheat another, and without a due process of law and through cunning means, by a game of dice, one won the property of another. It is a futile to rule of law. What happened when great lords were trying to compromise, to uphold the law, and to give a good decision that was thwarted by the evil brother, and the Kurukshetra war happened and they lost it. So, rule of law is an excellent concept. If there is a rule of law perfect in any country or any institution or any school or college or in a house, that will be peaceful, pleasant. Everybody will have their own share. Everybody will have their rights executed. Everybody can peacefully do their duty. So we cannot define rule of law simply. It is a great one like Indian Ocean. By every bit or by every drop, we can enjoy the goodness. Rule of law was actually made by man in the course of thousands of years. That is man-made law. In legislative council, in assembly, and in parliament, laws are made after high discussion. Orders are passed by bureaucrats, and courts are testing it whether it is correct or not, or whether it is within the constitution or not. But even before that, the nature or the God made certain rules and laws which are called natural laws, laws of nature. And that is perfect. It is we who are disturbing that natural laws. You see, in the universe, various planets are moving in their perfect orbit. One does not come into contact with the another. Even in solar eclipse or lunar eclipse, they pass by. They do not come into contact. Plants are there, sea is there, land is there, flora and fauna are there. They are regularized by the law of God. The rule of law is perfect among them. They obey. You see, when plants are more and plenty and they are eaten by herbivores, there are carnivores to eat the herbivorous animals and to control and save the plants. Likewise, when the carnivore is very forceful and dangerous, human beings are there and they eliminate it if it is ferocious or if it is disturbing the other one. Rule of law exposed by God Almighty or nature, in whatever name you call, they act perfectly within their sphere. It is we who go and interfere with them. We occupy the forest, we banish the mountain for quarry. In environmental hazards, it is the man who destroys everything. But law does not stop with regulating the man and mankind. The environment law, the forest law, and the law relating to water bodies, and the law relating to geology, even non-living things like mountain, stone are regularized by law. So, rule of law is not required for human beings alone. It is required for the whole universe. It is the breadth of universe, I can say. The rule of law is a great concept by which one and all can live happily forever. The judges who don the mantle of the law courts are very important to save this rule of law. Law officers and judges should feel that they are the first servants of judiciary. They should not develop personal policy or notion. They are bound by law. They are bound by treaties which are printed in black and white. They should see that it is implemented properly. Likewise, litigants should fear for court and law. They should not think that law courts are markets and they can purchase some order which may be in favor of them. And lawyers play an important role in showing the rule of law as supreme to the society. Lawyers should do their role as lawyers and stop with that. They should not criticize or comment the court and its function. They don't have any right to confuse the litigants and to criticize the supremacy of law. If they do so, they are blaming their own parents. Likewise, citizens should have a tendency to obey law courts, amenable to law, and they should feel proud about the supremacy and majesty of law. Otherwise, only lawlessness will prevail, law and order will be a zero. In a famous girl ravishing case, a few accused were convicted for death. They played all gimmicks and postponed the execution of their heads. And at last, a day came and the apex court confirmed the death sentence. A hanged man flew from Mumbai, reached Tihar jail at Delhi in the presence of a magistrate, in the presence of doctors, and before the very nose of relatives. The hardcores were executed, were killed by the hanged. The hanged were not able to open their mouths. A killing, a murder, as per order of the court, is the clear execution of rule of law. Law is supreme, whomsoever you may be. That is why Thiruvalluvar, the great poet, said, "This is not a scar. This is the duty of the state." Nowadays, I see law colleges are plenty in our country. Every taluk has got a law college. And it is a great pride and happiness that more people are studying law, especially girls have mushroomed to come and study law. This is a very good symbol for our country. When more lawyers are there, then they can realize the importance of law. They can tell others, they can lead the litigant people, and ultimately justice will prevail. In our constitution, from the beginning till end, citizenship, fundamental rights, duties, how legislatures should form, what is the duty of parliament, how high courts are formed, how Supreme Court should work. Likewise, every aspect is taken. What is the policy of the government? Everything is there. So, Judiciary is the bedrock of this constitution, and it should see that there is a governance within the concept of our constitution. Things are going on which is approved by even we have to respect international law is adumbrated in our constitution. Now let us pitiably see what is happening in the international arena. There is an United Nation. Number of nations are there. The world is in our pocket now. The gadgets and electronic media have reduced the entire big world in our pocket. United Nation is there. So many conventions, agreements, covenants are there. Big powers are there. As Security Council is international law is perfect. Does the rule of international law is okay now? With great respect to the superpowers, I humbly submit that it is not so. See, the war between Ukraine and Russia, it went on for months. So many students, employees, and migrants from various other countries were there inside the Ukraine. Nobody was scared. Bombing went on. We were not able to digest the scenes we viewed in the television. To such an extent it went on. Nobody was there to control it. Is the United Nations sleeping? Or the covenants are invalid? Should not the superpower control it? Is the rule of law, the international law, is poo-pooed in air? We are not able to answer. Likewise, let us take the war between Israel and Palestinians with regard to Gaza Strip, the war between one group and one country, children, sick men, women were killed by bombs. So many thousands of people were evacuated. There was total failure of rule of international law in that area. Until date, there is no best solution for it. Some giving up of certain prisoners in exchange of other persons who are withheld is going on now, but there is no good woman there. So, whether it is a house or street or village or town or a state or a country or various countries and world, unless and otherwise, some discipline is followed, some code of conduct is felt, some rules and regulations are imposed and followed properly, the mankind cannot live properly. Coming to various laws to regulate, organize, and correct family people, family laws are there. Property laws are there to regulate the purchase and sale of properties, possession of properties. Likewise, constitutional provisions are there to check the differences and disputes between one government and another government, one state and another state, central and state, everything is there. Laws are codified. One area is given to states, another area is held by central government. some other area is left as common. So lawmakers are very intelligent. They have thought for several years and drafted the law. Very recently, in certain states, the elected state executives have passed some bills in their assembly as a regular course, as adumbrated in our constitution, especially Article 300. They send it to gubernatorial heads appointed by central government. They withhold it for a long time. They do not say either yes or no, and the state is not able to answer for the people or to do business inside the legislature. This matter, which has to be cordially solved between the state head, a part of central government, and the state head who are elected representatives, should have been solved across the table within seconds. But the matter has reached the prestigious entry of the apex court, and that has passed certain comments that these matters should not come to us. You cannot sleep over your duties. Please see to it. So, what the politicians should do is, politics is a way to serve people. It is not a brand of business company or firm to do business. The rule of law is supreme, either for X party or for Y party or for Z party. All the political parties, they propagate, contest elections to catch the power. I mean, to catch the opportunity to serve the people. It is not a business and you have taken charge of the company. It is a service ground. You are allowed to serve. So there should not be any conflict between ruling parties and opposite parties. If one party is in hold of central government and various other parties are holding various states, then there should be a brotherhood between all the political parties. You are dignitaries of the government. You are servants of the general population. One should not have enmity with another. One is given an opportunity to serve the people and the other should cooperate. Whenever a political party comes and rules, the opposite party think them as their enemies and they don't allow to work inside the parliament or legislature. This is burying the rule of law under the ground. By doing service, in the next time you can win, come and occupy the same position. Parliament is a temple of democracy. More than 500 MPs are elected. In every state, more than 200 MLAs are elected. When we go through the newspapers, we find atrocities, lawlessness, disorder inside the great institution. And when there is a conflict of interest in a state, when one state is against the central rule, then a hard man is appointed as a governor and he is not cooperating. He makes a mess of passing the bills. This is not proper. All political parties who are the servants of this government, who are the persons below rule of law, below law, servants of law, should see that things happen properly. An opportunity is given to them for 5 years to work for the society, to obey law, to be below law. When you are below law and obey law and feel the supremacy of law, you will feel happiness. That is the richness. That is gaining power. When a lawyer enters inside the court hall, he may be 60 years old. A newly recruited girl at the age of 25 will be a magistrate or munsif. When once the senior lawyer enters inside the court hall, he should bow before the bench. He should not feel that he is bowing before a girl aged 25. He is bowing before the honorable bench. He is respecting the rule of law. He is obeying the books which are tagged there. Likewise, when the boy or girl who are at the age of 25 and senior lawyers come and pay their respects, the judicial officer should not think that he is supreme. The respect is for the bench, for the book, for the treatise, not for him. When once he is respected, he should develop a fear. Such a respect is given to me. I should work fairly. I should work judiciously. I should prove that I am perfect. Such a tendency should be developed. Likewise, when parliamentarians and legislatures of different parties meet together inside the temple of democracy, they should work together. They can fight for good cause and not fight for notions there. Ultimately, you are working against the voters, against the interest of the general public, and ultimately against the very nation. When a responsible person like legislature, parliamentarian, lawyer, judges, and great leaders, they do not work properly, act properly within the corners of law, and they do wrong things, then they are not only acting against themselves, against others, and their activities are detriment to the very nation itself. You should feel that you are part of the nation and it is your bounden duty to obey law. Lawyers in those days, they were the freedom fighters. They led the nation. Among freedom fighters, lawyers were more in number than doctors, farmers, or businessmen. The struggle by our great men to get freedom should be sown as seeds in the young minds of the people. In our constitution, among duties, it is enshrined. So, it is the law that we should feel the importance of freedom struggle. Then only we will respect the country. We will develop a patriotism. We will obey the law. Otherwise, we cannot claim the pride of rule of law. Our country is one which was robbed by so many foreign invaders because the location of the country is like that. On three sides, there was sea, and on one side, there was a mountain, and on the other side, there was a great valley, a fertile valley. So, people and fighters from central world, they invade, they came, they occupied, they spread their own culture, and so it is a difficult nation which has got plurality and various sects. But even then, we live together. We are happy, even though there are some drawbacks. Ultimately, in toto, it is a very good nation, and the people are very good, and the leaders who lead us are very fine. If certain defects are rectified, if rule of law is allowed to be established, respected, and the majesty of law is perceived, then we can stand as a strong nation in this world. And with great respect to you and thankful to you, I may be permitted to conclude this session.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your knowledge. We could see that you have taken the wide spectrum of the knowledge on rule of law, right from the medieval age till the present, on the latest affairs. And there's one question he says, we as the citizens have been ruled by force/fears of king for thousands of years, not rule of law. That's why we respect power, not law. How education can bring change in the mentality for respect of law.
Definitely. By education, we know what is right and wrong. By education, we know what is the situation in other countries. By education, we come across law and its importance. Unless and otherwise, you read newspapers and to watch important news, you may not be able to know what is going on here. Only if you are educated, you know what is meant by legislature, what is parliament, what is its duty, how courts function, what is the importance of law. An uneducated man may not be able to perceive the glory of law. Only if you are educated and your mind is allowed to develop, you can feel the importance of it. Education is a must to know the rule of law.
That was the only question, sir. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. We will keep bothering you to share your knowledge on this platform. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe.
I am most obliged.
Stay blessed. And thank you to Mr. Karunanidhi, who introduced.
He is here.
Yeah. I will ask him also to join.